Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm in kind of a little bit of an in between state. I feel like there's a part of me that is just so incredibly joyful and happy and wanting to just, you know, have a Monday that is just all sunshine and rainbows, like, and just have an incredible time today. But on the flip side, I feel like there's something that I have to talk a little bit about today, which is super, super unfortunate in my opinion, and that is the fact that back on the 10th, 3 days ago, we had one of the worst liquidation events in crypto. I've been around crypto for a long time now. The only day that I remember being even close to as bad as yesterday was way back in like 2020. I think it was March of 2020. And that was a pretty rough day for me, especially. In fact, that day back in 2020 was a lot rougher for me than a lot of days. But today's show isn't about me. But the reason that I'm talking about this instead of just, being happy is because, unfortunately, in the news, I've found out that there's been some people that did what we call, they took a permanent solution to a temporary problem over the last 3 days. And it breaks my heart that anybody would decide that not being here on this planet was a good decision, especially, guys, when it comes to money. Man, I can't even wrap my mind around that in some ways. Like, I love you guys. And this is a cryptocurrency investing channel. And if you go to the bio in my channel, it's about creating financial freedom. So you could say that this channel is heavily focused on making money and on creating wealth. But guys, if the pursuit of that is making you so miserable and driving you so crazy that you literally are thinking about taking a permanent solution to a temporary problem, then we got a lot bigger problems to deal with. We got a lot to talk about because, guys, I don't know. I don't even know exactly what to say, guys. I'm kind of at a loss for words because, one of my favorite sayings in life is show me somebody that doesn't mind losing and I'll show you a loser. Or, like, winning isn't everything, but it ranks right up there with oxygen. Like, I don't like people that want to be, just average, mediocre people. People that don't have a competitive nature drive me a little bit crazy sometimes. I probably have, well, I don't know. I think I'm somewhat healthy, but I think that my family would say that I probably am over competitive, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I would rather be too competitive than not competitive enough. So, I mean, I want to win. If I'm playing basketball with you, I want to win. If I'm playing, cribbage with you, I want to win. If I'm playing Go Fish, I want to win. Like, I don't do things unless I'm planning on winning. But guys, the game of money is a lifetime. There is no winner. There is no loser. Until the very, very end of your life. It's kind of like poker in a sense. I want to give you guys a quick little illustration in poker. Let's say you started off with whatever. Well, I'm going to make up an arbitrary number here, but let's just say that you started off with $10,000. and you decide you are going to play poker for a living. So you go down to the casino the first day and you put in your 8 hours and you lose $100. The next day you go to the casino, you play for 8 hours, you win $300. The next day you go, you lose 500, then you lose 500, then you lose 500, then you win 1,000, win 300, win 100, win 200, win 60, lose 25. My point is, guys, if you've decided that you want to be a professional poker player, you want to make your money, you want to make a living playing poker, you didn't play 10 different, you kind of did. You played on 10 different days, and there was a break in between those times that you played. But guys, it was all one big long game. Out of here, son. All right, I love you. So it was one long game. Yeah, it was split up because, you got to get some sleep. You got to spend some time with your family. That's kind of how life is. But that poker session, whether you won today or lost today, it shouldn't affect your happiness. It shouldn't affect your life, especially, guys, in poker, the best players in the world only win 60 to maybe 75% of the time. I mean, and I don't even think that you can find a poker player that wins 70% of the time. 75% of the time consistently, like over the course of hundreds, if not thousands of sessions. I think it's darn near impossible to find somebody that wins 75% of the time. So what does that mean? I played a lot of poker. I kept a lot of records, and on average, when I was doing relatively well, I would usually win six to 7 out of 10 sessions. But if you extrapolate that out over the course of, say, 100 sessions, it was always somewhere, on my bad streaks, I would only win, say, maybe 40 times out of 100. On my good streaks, I would win 60, 61, 62 times out of 100. Well, my point is, guys, I'm setting myself up. If I'm going to be miserable, if I'm going to consider and contemplate harming myself every time I have a bad streak, man, I'm in for a bad life, because I picked a profession back when I was playing poker for a living. I picked a profession that I was going to lose 4 out of 10 times on average. But the crazy thing is, guys, if you can win 6 out of 10 times when you're playing poker, as long as you don't do silly stuff and lose 4 or 5 times as much as you win when you're winning, like, you can make a lot of money with 6 poker sessions. I'm making this up off the top of my head, but in general, over the course of 10 sessions, I would usually have, say, one session that was fantastic, which a fantastic session would be probably, say, somewhere in the ballpark of a $900 to, call it, like $1,200-$1,300 win. I would usually have one somewhat, catastrophic loss in the grand scheme of things that was around $1,000. I would have 2 or 3 sessions that were small wins, anywhere from, $18 up to $200 or $300. And I would have a couple of, small losers that were all, $18 to a couple $100. But in the grand scheme of things, my goal for the game that I was playing, I wasn't some high roller playing, for tens of thousands of dollars. I was relatively happy if I could do what we call, grind out like $25 an hour. So if I played, for 40 hours that week, I needed to make, in order to make $1,000, $25 an hour, in order to make $1,000, if I won 6 of my 6 sessions and lost 4, I would have to be in the ballpark of, say, plus 800 to 1,200 in order to consider that was a successful week. But once again, that's kind of besides the point. My main point is that, I'm 52 now. Let's say that I was 35 back when I really decided that I wanted to play poker for a living, and let's say that I was going to play poker for 35 years until I was 70. How in the world how can I determine whether I've been successful in 6 months or 1 year or even in 10 years? Do you realize if I'm going to have a 35-year career, that 10 years is still only 33% of it, roughly? I know you math experts out there are going to give me a hard time. I know it's a little more, a little less than 33 for 35 years. But my point is, guys, how in the world can you let something that is a 35-year progress, how can you give up on it and decide that you're better off to not be here on this planet after a third of that time? And so I guess one of the reasons that it's on my heart is I think that all of us at this point in time have probably had people close to us that have made this decision. And so, we can all empathize with each other. We can all kind of give each other a shoulder, a head, a shoulder to cry on. But, this hits especially home for me because I've had some very, very unfortunately, close encounters with this situation. And I'm using all sorts of weird words and dancing around the words and stuff because YouTube hates the real word, like the algorithm, for whatever reason. I don't understand why. It should be something that we can talk about openly. It shouldn't have to, use phrases like, decided they didn't want to be around this planet anymore, that kind of stuff. But the reason that I'm not just actually using the S word is, mainly because the YouTube algorithm sucks when it comes to talking about this kind of stuff. But, I had a nephew, my sister's son, that decided that this was the path that he wanted to take a few years ago. I've had some very close people in my life that have decided that this was the answer. And so it's near and dear to my heart. And I guess the reason that I'm here, guys, is if anybody is watching today, why am I getting ready to cry? Oh my gosh. If anybody's watching today and you didn't do something silly over the last 3 days, but you're still thinking about it, it's still on your mind, it's still in your consciousness to consider or be considering doing something permanent for a temporary problem, maybe, just maybe, this video, if it saves one life, is way, 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 way worth it. But I pray, guys, that those of you that are with me here today, that you're okay. But part of the reason for this video is if there's anybody watching this that's not okay today, I want to hopefully help you be okay by the end of this show and be ready to pull yourself up off the ground and dust yourself off and get back to work. Get back to work, man. This is a temporary problem, guys. Bitcoin has already bounced back up to, already bounced back up to over 115,000. For 114, it's showing right now. I think it was about 115, but we still got a long ways to go to wipe out the losses over the last 3 days. But guys, it's coming. And in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter whether it does or not. I want all of you to understand something. That if somehow cryptocurrency got totally outlawed and they started throwing people in prison and beheading them in other countries, if they had anything to do with crypto, and crypto disappeared off the face of the planet. So, we all know that this is ridiculous. It can't happen. But if it did, and there was 0% chance that you could create wealth in cryptocurrency, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. There's millions and millions of people on this planet that are creating wealth outside of crypto. I love crypto too. And it's a path that I've chosen for the last, I got involved in crypto, a little bit sooner, but really, when I went full time in crypto in 2019, that was when I really, planted my flag and decided that crypto was going to change my family's life. So yeah, would it be horrible if the last 6 years of my life turned out to not, I couldn't even call it be for nothing, because even if that happened, even if crypto got wiped off the face of the planet, you guys, the relationships that I have with you guys have been so incredible and impactful in my life. And those don't go away just because crypto goes away. We figure out something else to talk about on the channel, and we'd still enjoy our time together. I'm 52 years old, and over the last 6-7 years, I believe I've lived more life in the last 6 or 7 years than probably 85% of the population does in their whole life. I remember putting up a poll on Facebook asking people how often they took a vacation. And it was like, 2-3 times a year, once a year, once every 2 years, once every 5 years. And the last one was, what's a vacation? The number of people that chose what's a vacation or chose every 5 years was like alarming to me. Not because you have to be taking a bunch of vacations in order to have a good life, but it just showed me like the financial struggle and stuff that people were going through. And that's why, once again, that's why this channel exists, is we want to help people create financial freedom. We want you to have success financially. But guys, this life, not to get too Rocky Balboa on you, but this life is going to knock you down to your knees. It ain't fair. Life is tough. You can't, if you expected to jump into crypto and in 3 months, 6 months, 1 or 2 years, 20, 50, 100x your net worth and become worth, millions of dollars when you'd always struggled financially, you probably set yourself up for failure. Yeah, that's possible. And I still think that we're still going to have an amazing next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And a lot of us that aren't where we want to be financially today are going to have some miraculous, financial changes coming. You guys have heard me talk about it 100 times, maybe more. 2020, early November, mid-November, around Thanksgiving, I'm at my dad's house, crying in his car. We went to the store. We went and did something, went to Starbucks. I don't know where we went, but we came home, and when we got into his driveway, we're parked. And before we can go in where my mom is and my beautiful wife and my kids are, I break down and I'm telling my dad, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. We've been talking about crypto going up in 18. We've been talking about it going up in 19. We've been talking about it going up in 20. Like, we keep saying that it's got to go up. But man, I'm running out of money. I'm spending my crypto every single day to live. In fact, I probably spent some crypto to buy that Starbucks. Like, I got like $20,000 left in crypto, and I've got a $10,000 a month expenditure that's going out. I'm a couple months from like totally bankrupt. Not only will I have to go get a job, Dad, but if the market does take off, I ain't going to have any crypto left to care. Like, I used to say it. I haven't said it for a long time anymore, but back in 2018, 2019, I would make this saying, and it almost came true. Be very, very careful what you talk about, because I used to tell my dad, the only thing that could keep me from having millions of dollars worth of crypto is if I don't have it anymore by the time it really starts to go up. In other words, if I lose it, I spend it, I sell it because I gave up, whatever. I mean, obviously, if I know for sure that I'm going to have millions, as long as I have the crypto, eventually the odds of me just selling it and getting all the way out of crypto didn't really exist. But not having any more because I'd spent it, I quit my job too soon, quit my job in July of 19. So July of 20, August, September, October, November. I mean, we're talking about 16 months that I was living off of crypto, and it devastated, it almost ended me as far as my crypto success. Thank God, literally within a day or two of that conversation with my dad, I had a little token that I had bought a couple $100 worth that like 15x'd overnight. And I'll never forget, I needed the money. I literally went and sold that crypto for $3,000. But that gave me a little breathing room because it wasn't like a crypto I was all in on. It was I don't even remember the name of it now, but it was one of those, I don't know, it was one of those tokens where like every day it would either double or it would like go backwards. I can't even think of the name of it. Some of you might have heard of it or even invested in something like this, but like when it had a really good run, it could go up 10 or 15 or 20x in just a couple of days. But then it would literally, if it had a bad day, it would lose 50% in one day. So it could go from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8, and you're pretty excited. But then in 2 bad days, it goes all the way back from 8 to 4 to 2 kind of a thing. I don't even remember the name of the token or what this mechanism was called. But anyways, I got lucky and caught it while it was doing well. And I'll never forget going into my dad's house. I can imagine the exact spot that I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop there and breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief when I sold this crypto for $3,000 or $4,000 because I knew that it gave me a couple of weeks of breathing room. I could pay some bills without having to sell any of the 20K that I had left in crypto. And long story short, man, crypto started taking off towards the end of November. Thanksgiving was a really fun week. It was going up. And then December was good. And January, February, March. And like over the course of the next few months, I went from crying in my dad's car, afraid I was going bankrupt, to a millionaire. And my point is, guys, is I had to still be here in order to do it. You guys picked a very volatile way to create financial freedom. It basically, I mean, let's see if we can pull this up here. See if this chart will pull up, and then let's go out to a 1 year and see what the 1 year chart. Now that doesn't even do it justice. Let's look at them. No, so I mean, this is better. But guys, I mean, like this is Bitcoin going all the way back here to 2013. But look, I mean, like right here in 2000, what is this? 2017, Bitcoin all the way up at 20. This is kind of, in a sense, kind of where I kind of jumped into the crypto market, was back in this area was when I really got serious about it. But look at what I had to endure here all the way down to 3,900. And this peaked up to over 20,000. But a lot of you got into crypto, in this range here. This is just November of 2021. If you are right here, this was, March, April, May of 2021. And there's a lot of people that got in when things were good, and then they watched it, Bitcoin go all the way down here into the 30s and quit. Then there was another group of people that, rode it all the way up here in November of 2021 to its new all-time high of 68,000. But look at what we've had to endure since 2021, guys. I mean, for those of us that are still around that have been in this thing for more than one cycle, sometimes I think we're crazy. I don't know how we do it, but the reason we do it is because we know this is coming. We know that this is eventually coming right here. But guys, very, very rare for you to not go through this right here. This U, very, very rare that you don't go through one of those U's before you have some incredible, massive success in crypto. So quit wanting what you don't want. You know, the other thing about these U's is they teach you, for a lot of us that are on this channel that made a lot of money back in 2021, but didn't keep it. This has been a very, very good learning experience. There's a lot of us that aren't happy about it. I mean, if I had to do it all over again, I can't say that I would choose to live the last 3 or 4 years the way that I had to, because of the lessons that I had to learn. But I will tell you this, the lessons that I've learned over the last 4 years are going to serve me, you know, for the rest of my life. But, you know, we could go out, but this 125 is probably running up to 175, 200. And then we're going to have another U. And you just got to decide that you're gonna stick through. You're gonna make it through these U's. So this is a lot less pronounced U, but at the same time, from 20 grand all the way down to 30, 3,300, and then as it started to go back up here, right in here, I'll never forget this day right here, July 19th of 2019. My mom actually passed away. I believe it was on July 20th of 2019. And I remember this period of time here in 19 going into, you can see right here, November of 2020 right here, sitting at, it's October, we're sitting at 13,000. And then boom, by the December 20th, we're at 23,000. By February, we're at 47,000. This is that streak. This is right where I was at right after I talked to my father. But my point is that it can turn around on a dime. And I know that we've been fooled. I didn't think we were going to have any type of a catastrophe type of an event, on the 10th, which gets me to my next point here. But I want to say hello to the chat. It looks like you guys are hanging in there in the chat. Nobody's too. It doesn't look like anybody's too upset about the life. Dave P says he's just picking up the pieces after Friday. I did buy some Crow at 0.07. See, that's what the people that did silly things to themselves and decided that they didn't want to be here any longer, that's what they should have been doing. And even if they didn't have any money to do it, that's why it's so important to ask yourself the right questions, which would have been, how can I get some money to take advantage of these situations? And when you ask yourself that question, so these people that did unspeakable things, they weren't asking the right questions. Their question was, like why is, I don't even know what questions is, because even if you were to say, they're not asking questions. They're not saying, why is life still worth living? They're saying life isn't worth living. So they probably got to the point where they weren't asking questions. They were making statements. Because if they were to ask, hey, why is life still worth living? What do I have to look forward to? How long is this pain and misery going to last? If they would have asked, even if they were negative, slanted questions, they would have been a lot better than statements just basically saying that there's no hope. But my point is, I don't want to talk all day about this stuff, but my point is, guys, is that if you would have figured out a way to buy some, figure out a way to get a hold of some money, look at some of the damage that you could have done on Friday. And some of you probably did. It looks like Dave bought some, some Crow at 7 cents. So where is Crow on here? I think it's not too far down the list, is it? So here we go. Not a bad rebound. He bought it at 7 cents. It's at 17 cents, 16.8 cents. Guys, this is what I mean. I mean, you get all depressed and brokenhearted and feel like life isn't worth living anymore. And then 3 days later, the guy is up over almost 150% right here. And folks, there was opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. Look here, we know one of my favorite tokens to trade here, the polka dot. Where'd it go? Where's my polka dot? I know it's in here somewhere in the 30s or 40s. There we go, polka dot. I mean, it wasn't anywhere near as massive as Crow, but you could have bought polka dot here. You could have bought polka dot all the way down here at $2.84, and I actually saw it lower. I don't think CoinGecko caught some of the real bottoms that you could have bought some of this stuff at. But if I would have lost a lot of money, if we would have done some betting, I would have lost a lot of money. I would have bet money that we were never going to see, $2.70 polka dot. And it actually went way, way lower than that briefly. And most cryptos did. So what was it? It was an opportunity, but it was only an opportunity if you looked at it like it was an opportunity. If you looked at it like, oh my gosh, my crypto portfolio just got wiped out by 50, 60, 70%, and you were too scared or were in a position where you couldn't take advantage of that, then yeah, that would be pretty alarming. But once again, guys, we got to go back and remember, like, money isn't everything. Money is not everything by so much. I promise you right now, every single one of you that's having financial problems, if all of a sudden you or somebody in your immediate family starts dealing with a major medical issue, you would give up all of your money in a split second to have them healed. So it proves money isn't everything. There's lots of things on this in this life that are not as, or that are way, way, way more important than money. You and your son or your daughter go to the playground today, and something happens where they fall off a piece of equipment and they break their arm or they break their leg. You will sell all of your crypto in a heartbeat to make sure that that arm or leg is reset. And so they don't have to go through life with a deformity. They don't have to go through life with a crooked arm or a crooked leg. You will spend every dollar that you own. There's just multiple situations where you would be glad to part ways with every dollar you earned to get an outcome outside of money. I mean, there's billionaires and millionaires that would give all of the, I guarantee you take any billionaire that is 60, 70, 80 years old and you ask him, hey, do you want to be 20 again broke, or do you want to stay 80 and be a billionaire? Every single one of them would give you every dollar that they have to be 20 again. Yet you're 35 and you're sitting there wasting your life. You're not doing anything. You got guys that would give everything that they've ever created in their whole life. They would give it in a heartbeat to be back to 20 years old. And so money's important. Yeah, we got to have some of it to live, but you'd be amazed at what you can endure, what you can get through. And pride and ego is a big, big problem. These people that decide they no longer want to be here on the planet, most of it's pride and ego. They can't stomach the idea of being a failure, even if it's temporary. They can't stomach the idea of telling their spouses, their kids, that they lost everything and that they got to go back and live with mom and dad or whatever the case might be. And the crazy thing is, guys, we've talked about that a lot on this channel too. Remember, you are most equipped to help the person that you used to be. So when you go through those hardships, when you're the guy that went from wealthy to living back with your parents, the most embarrassing things that you can imagine happen to you in your life, especially financially. And then because you have the skills. Everything that I've learned in crypto for the last 10 years, I still know it. So if somehow I ended up back at zero or worse, you can't take my knowledge away from me. So you rebuild it back up, and the comeback is more exciting than the first time almost. And that's when people really fall in love with you too. Look at it in the movies. Look, in most movies, isn't there a pretty much like a guy's doing well, everything's going good in life, and then boom, he gets injured or he loses the fight, and then the rest of the movie is about the comeback, the training and the comeback. No movie is fun because the guy just started off in life and then everything worked out well for him and he had incredible success. Like there's never been a good movie in the history of movies that was the plot. Like here he is, life is good. He's got great wife, he's got great kids, he's got a great job, he starts a business, and the next thing you know, he's a billionaire. And the movie ends. It's never happened in the history of movies. And it's not true life either. You think to yourself, well, movies aren't real. Well, true life follows along with movies a lot more than it does with real with movies, in a sense. Like if you look at Sylvester Stallone and you just go, you go through everybody that's built incredible lives, anybody that you look up to that's done phenomenal in their life, there's a story behind the story, the part that a lot of times we don't see, but that happened. My guy, Ed Milet, one of my favorite mentors in life, he went through a period of time in his life where the water got shut off in his apartment. And him and his wife had to go down to the community pool and take a shower outdoors humiliating in the public. He would hold up a towel and then she would hold up a towel so that they could soap up their body and wash everything off and then get ready and go to work. And he had to go to work selling financial instruments. He was in the insurance business. He had to go to work after not having running water in his house and fake it until he makes it and sell other people on financial instruments and make money to get himself out of this hole. Like it would be bad enough. Can you imagine? It'd be bad enough to have your water turned off and then you go to work, someplace like you're an engineer or something. So you go to work at, whatever, someplace where you're drawing up schematics or whatever. You're not really working with the public, but imagine having your water turned off, having to take a cold shower outside down at the public pool in your apartments, and then you got to go act like you're being successful in life. Put on a smile and go sell people some life insurance. Go sell people some investments and basically make them think that you're doing well enough in life that they should listen to you about their financial future. I can't even imagine what that must have been like, but he went through it. And guess what? Now the guy's worth hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions, and he's changed millions and millions of people's lives. I'm one of them. I'll be forever grateful to Ed Milet. And I'm so glad that he didn't take a permanent solution to a temporary problem when he was going through some of those things in his life. And I guarantee you know who else is thankful? His wife of, probably 25 or 30 years at this point, his two amazing kids that have both graduated from college or are graduating from college. One of them's graduated from college and is pursuing a career in as a professional golfer. And I believe his daughter either just graduated or she's in the process getting ready to graduate from college. They're incredibly thankful that he went through those struggles. And guess what? It makes him real when he can look you in the eyes and say, man, I know what you're going through, Brad, because my water was turned off. And so I've had a car repoed. I've had these bad things happen in my life. Man, you have the ability to help a lot of people. So giving up on life is not an answer by any means. With that, guys, so for me, I just want to show you a couple of nice things. It's not nothing. It ain't like life-changing money. It's not incredible, but I want to show you something here real quick. All of my trades got liquidated on the 10th. And I don't know if you remember, but I had a polka dot trade. And I don't know if you guys, if you're on the phone, you can't see this, but I had a polka dot trade that had about $200 in it. And at one point in time, I was telling my buddy, it's crazy I didn't take profit. It's my own fault. Maybe that's one of the things I'm supposed to be learning. This $200 polka dot trade at its peak was plus 600%. It was $1,200 in profit, and it got liquidated on the 10th. So not only did I not realize any of a 600% gain, but I also, I got into that trade at about $3.30. My liquidation price was all the way down at $3. When I was up to 600%, it was at $4.86. There was no way at that point in my mind that it was impossible. It was going all the way down back under $3. Anyways, it did. But the good news is, look at this, guys. I did a couple ladders, and I've got another trade in. And look at this trade. The entry price on this trade is $2.96. So here I thought I had a pretty good trade on Polkadot at $3.30 with $200. But because of this seemingly horrific event, I now have $400 in at $2.96. My liquidation price is all the way down at $2.67. I'm relatively sure that's not happening. It's not going to get liquidated. But look at this, guys. It's already up 118%, $444 in profit. And then I want to show you guys something real quick. If we go to this position, take profit, stop loss, let's say that this goes back up to $4.86. So at $4.86, that seems a little low. That doesn't make sense to me. Let's see what we got. Oh, let's see. And then we're going to sell. Is that right? 1,300 dot. Something doesn't seem right there. It doesn't make any sense to me. So we have $400 amount of dot 1,329. It looks like. That doesn't make any sense to me, because a $200 gain was up $1,200 at 486. A $400 spot with a much lower entry price, I would have thought was higher than that, but 4.86. We'll say this is right. When this thing goes back up to $4.86, I will be at a $2,400 profit. Let's say that this thing gets up to $12. I'm sitting on $11,000 profit. I also, you can see here, I got a little bit of money into an Atom trade that's up 140%. I got some money into a VeChain trade that is up, 45%. That's lousy $18, because that's all I had left. I got an $18 trade in. But folks, once again, it's just, only reason I'm really even sharing this with you guys is so that you can see how fast it can rebound. You're probably not going to be able to see this on camera, but I've got a trade in on VeChain here that is, another $55 that is already up 30%. And I've got a trade in on Polygon that was another $55. These are both trades that I put in before I went to bed last night. That's up, 37%. So my point is that everything was, the sky is falling and doom and gloom and misery. I literally had a horrible, horrible day on the 10th. I literally sold off a bunch of crypto because I really believed that I could catch the bottom of this. So, not to go into my gory story too much, and you guys don't care, but imagine that this was the chart, and say this was kind of the dip. this was kind of the dip that day. It went pretty much like that. It was pretty much straight down, and then it kind of came straight back up. By the time I caught it, long story short, I got into a polka dot trade, that I threw about $1,000 into. And it was crypto that I sold that I certainly didn't want to have be gone. In my great strategic thinking brain, I thought, hey, I'm going to sell this crypto. I'm going to jump into a 10x leverage trade. I'm going to turn this 1,000 into 3, 4, 5, or 10 as this goes back up. And I was probably right. I still a little weirded out by what happened. But long story short, I put $1,000 in, say, like around here, we're right before this V, and literally, I'm not kidding you guys. I went and looked at my emails. I placed the trade at, like, call it 2:54 p.m. and the trade got liquidated at 3:03. Like literally 8 minutes later, the market retraced a full 10% again. But then it did, if you can see this chart, it did this straight back up. So I got into Polkadot for around $1,000 at like $2.80. Thought it was fantastic. It ran all the way up to like $2.96. I was already, like $600-700 in profit. And then I just watched it go bloop and gone, $1,000 on top of all of the other money that I had lost. And it was $1,000 that I didn't want to lose. It's $1,000 in other crypto that I now have to try to go and replace. So my point is, though, is here we are. This is what we do. We roll up our sleeves and we get back to work. And now we've got a chunk of this money back. And as Bitcoin continues to climb up and goes back up to its, previous all-time high, 126,000, I believe that I will get, my money back. But Dave P, I got liquidated also on Sol. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every single altcoin just got crushed. It was definitely a good time for those of you that have ever had stink bids in. We call a stink bid where you go onto an exchange and you place a limit order at a price that you think probably won't ever happen. But if you've got money laying around, it's not a bad place to try to, do something crazy. So literally, I'm pretty sure, I don't even know. I don't think I might be able to pull this out, but I might not. Let's see if this will, if I can, how long it, I can't even, well, let me do this. Go to 1 day. Let's go to, see if we can look at this 5-day chart, see if that'll pull up. Yeah, so look at this craziness, guys. So this is showing, well, I don't know what this green line is here. We're only, let me see, 20 September, what the world? Go to 1 week. Well, this is not showing a very good wick. Like this is only showing this go down to 1. That is, let's look at something else. Let's see if DOT, if I can pull up DOT on the 1 week and give you guys a better gauge. So this is, so look at this wick here. This is showing DOT ran all the way down to 94 cents on weeks. So had somebody either spot or on a leverage trade, had some kind of a crazy, spot buy at $1, you'd have been able to get Polkadot, at $1. If we go, show you another one here that was pretty crazy, Atom. Look at this wick on Atom. Atom went all the way down. It went all the way down to way lower than this on some exchanges, but $1.48. So I prefer to do this if I'm going to do it for spot buys, because you could have done a fantastic job of putting in an order here at, $2, thinking that, man, $2 is a amazing entry with a 10x leverage, and you would have gotten liquidated, because from 2 to 140 is 25%. So, from $2 to 145 here, a little over 25%. So if you'd have had a leverage trade, like a stink order in on a leverage trade, you'd have still probably got liquidated, unless you managed to have the leverage trade in right at, say you had it in at $1.50. Well, you'd be doing pretty good, because with 10x leverage, it's over doubled back up. So you'd have yourself a little 10xer right now, a 1,000% gain. But my point is, you could have bought this spot, and even if it dipped, all the way down to $1.50 like it did, or even if you bought a bunch of polka dot at $2, and then it went all the way down to 94 cents for a brief second, so what? It wouldn't have been that big of a deal, because it rebounded, and if you're in polka dot at $2, it's already back up to well over, $3. So let me get my chart back. I think I'm usually on the 15-minute. No, I don't know what I'm normally on. This looks like it could be. This will work for me, the 15-minute. But, once again, I think that part of the learning experience here is to expect the best, but be prepared for some of these black swan events. Be prepared for some of this craziness in the market. There's some happy people out there. I guarantee you, there's some people that, whether they, through their technical analysis, through the things that they did in their educational process, that caused them to believe that something, bad was coming, that made a lot of money. The other thing too that I'm need to get better at is understanding how some of the world events are going to affect, the markets, because there was an announcement about tariffs earlier that day, and they had caused the market to go down a little bit, but I probably had, a couple hours, maybe even longer, to shore up my positions and to maybe even consider putting in a short. I mean, like, how awesome would it have been to be shorting the market on Friday? I guarantee you there was some people that heard about the tariffs Monday morning when they woke up, and they went to work, and they got out of their trades, and they started putting in shorts, and they started doing these other things that caused them to win. For every person that had a horrible Friday and lost a bunch of money, there was a lot of people that had an incredible Friday and won a bunch of money. And once again, that goes back to us taking the responsibility, learning and becoming educated enough, financially savvy enough to take advantage of these events, not get destroyed by them. So, guys, it's been an hour. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go get me some black iced coffee and, get on with my day. But I'm looking forward to the Tuesday Trader Show tomorrow. You're going to definitely go over these trades in a little bit more detail and show you guys what my plan is for this upcoming next couple of weeks. And, looking forward to talking to you about some more Texit coin. One cool thing about Texit coin, because it's not a, it has liquidity, but it's not necessarily like a token that has, tons of liquidity, and it doesn't have very much sell pressure. So one of the cool things about here, if you look at, this last 7 days, it dipped down to 380 from little over 450, but look how fast it rebounded. So, like, I'm glad, one of my major investments over the last going on 2 months has been Texit coin. And for the most part, Texit coin held very, very strong throughout that October 10th debacle. It pretty much stayed at above $4 for most of the day. There was a little dip where it went down to like $3.89 for a few minutes, but it stayed at over $4 almost all the way through. So I've got some exciting news about Texacoin that I'm not gonna share with it today because we got to get out of here. But there's some good news, some good things coming with Texacoin and the miners. So I'm excited to share a little bit of that, whether it's tomorrow or Wednesday. And, just looking forward to getting back on track. So with that, guys, I hope all of you are doing great, that you've recovered nicely from the crash. And once again, remember, money isn't everything, that's all temporary, even when you got lots of it. Like, seriously, we talked in the very beginning, and maybe I'll end on that. We talked about money is, for most of us that are watching this, that are on this show today, you got somewhere between, say, 25 and 50 years probably on this earth, God willing. So don't let what happens in a 1 year, 5 year period get you into a position where you feel hopeless about life. It's a long-term game. Now, hey, granted, you get up to 70, 75 years old and you still ain't got it figured out. Well, maybe then you can get a little frustrated. But even then, I say life ain't over. There's a lot of successful people that didn't get successful financially until they were 65 or 70 years old. There's a lot of people that took them 50, 60 years to figure out this old thing we call life and put themselves in a position where they were making the decisions that allowed them to make the financial situation that they want to make. And the fact of the matter is, the scoreboard ain't over until it's over. Until you're on your way up to heaven, the score is still just the score, and you got time to run it up. And the fact of the matter is that at 65, 75, 85 years old, it becomes your time to, go up and be with your creator. And there were some things here on this earth that you didn't accomplish. There were some things that you didn't get done. That there were some things you wish you could have done differently. It's okay. You're still going to heaven to spend eternity with your creator, and all of the stuff that you didn't do the way you wish you would have done on this earth doesn't matter anymore. So guys, enjoy it while you can. Do the best that you can. And remember, all you can do is all you can do, but all you can do is enough. Famous quote by Art Williams. I'll leave you with that. I love you guys. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow at about 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Bye-bye for now.